thank you for tuning in to another edition of Mental Health Mondays. My guest at this time, I am a huge fan of. He is the future. Actually, I wouldn't even say the future. He's the present of wrestling media. Look out, Dave Meltzer, because he's coming to take your place. I'm talking about one of my favorite people on the planet. I'm talking about AJ Awesome from the AJ Awesome Show. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays. How are you doing, AJ?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be here.
So glad to have you. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. Both of us being wrestling fans, and I'm going to try really hard not to make this a wrestling podcast, but let's be honest, we're probably going to talk a lot about that. My first interaction with you was seeing you at an interview, and this is years ago, first being interviewing at I think it was a media scrum. And yeah, it was with Tony Khan, and it was after a pay-per-view, and just seeing Tony Khan light up when he saw you. Because at this point, you had already established yourself with so many wrestlers, a lot of independent wrestlers who had gone on, and this is what, before AEW started. And there's something that I just think it lights up a lot of us when they see you, because you're genuine with your questions. In a time where like the dirt sheets and there's so much negativity in wrestling media, you're a bright shining light, and I really, really appreciate that.
I just try and ask questions that get people to have positive answers. I'm not really trying to get any scoops. I'm just trying to have people have fun watching the media scrums.
Absolutely, yeah, and it translates because it's genuine, and your positivity, I think, is contagious. Before we get going, I want to show something interesting, because I was going back into your YouTube channel. Of course, I'll put your YouTube links here. If you're not already subscribed to the AJ Awesome Show, are you really a wrestling fan? I mean, come on. But you should be subscribed. If you haven't already, you got to make sure you subscribe. But I want to show something real quick. You've had more than 2 interviews with Cody Rhodes. But I want to go back to episode 29, and then your most recent one. Like here's you, and this was before All In, I think, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm just going to play a quick clip.
It's easy, man. It's Zelda. See, I'll show that's my wedding band. This is also Triforce. Power, wisdom, and courage, which is applicable to life, not just Zelda, but Ocarina of Time, Nintendo 64. How old are you?
7.
So if you don't know anything about Nintendo 64, what are you? You're like a Wii U game. Yeah, not even GameCube. 7. Yeah.
All right, and then after that, we this was what, 3 weeks ago that you recently interviewed Cody?
It was at the Champaign WWE Live, so I would say just around a month.
All right, check this out.
The American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes.
I really liked that introduction. I have not heard. I think I saw a tweet with that put in there, and I was afraid actually to retweet it or like it even, because I feel like.
All right, so just looking at the comparing of the 2 interviews, not only are we seeing, of course, the evolution of Cody Rhodes, but we're seeing the growth of a wrestling media superstar. If there's anything you could say to that young interviewer, 7 years old, what would you say to him?
I feel like me at a young age really had a good knack for interviewing, but I would probably say that to not give up. Most gave up.
Yeah, and well, glad you didn't give up. And did you start to feel, though, a little bit of because I can imagine, like with any fandom, that it comes with a lot of trolls, a lot of haters. And, being such a young interviewer and getting these interviews with a lot of wrestling superstars, how did you handle some of the negativity that was thrown your way?
Most of the time I would semi-ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really see that much positivity because my mom owns my Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts. But the times I do see negativity, I really just try to do stuff to spite it. It's kinda.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
Whenever people say, "Oh, your hair's too long, you need to cut it," which I did cut it, but I grew it out even longer to spite those people.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. And I can't imagine a wrestling fan saying your hair's too long. I mean, look at most wrestlers. That's a staples to have that Jericho mane, or the Young Bucks or what have you. I mean that's crazy. And it's cool that your parents manage a lot of your socials. God bless them for really protecting you from a lot of stuff. But I just, something that translates in all of your interviews and everything that we see you do have that smile, that positivity, and that eagerness. And I think it's a testament to who you are to see how the wrestlers respond to you. I mean, you've interviewed Harley Race, you've interviewed the Rock and Roll Express, Sting. You've interviewed so many people, and I think that builds a genuine reputation. And I think there's a lot of wrestling fans out there that crave that genuine positivity. And I think it's that we tend to hear the negative voices. They tend to be the loudest, but I'm not entirely sure they represent the majority of wrestling fans. Would you agree?
I would agree. Almost all of the wrestling fans I've met were all really nice and kind and showed a lot of positivity.
Very supportive. It's a very supportive group, whether you're WWE, AEW, Impact, New Japan, the Indies. I feel like that there's a camaraderie. Every time I go to a show, I've rarely ever seen anything negative. Everybody's high-fiving. We went to a recent Dynamite show, and everybody was doing the scissor thing for the Acclaimed, and it was a camaraderie. It's like family. And and yet you go online, you look on Twitter or some other places, and it just seems like everybody's at each other's throats.
Yeah, in almost every single community I've been in, the negative part has always been so much louder than the positive part, because a lot of the negative people are more willing to share their opinions.
Yeah, just almost to get that attention. How is it translating at school? Do you have a lot of friends that are wrestling fans? Are there some folks that do get it or some folks that don't?
I am currently doing online school, but in the Zoom chats, I've really only seen one person who knew about wrestling. And I've never really been the type to share my YouTube channel or what I do.
Mm-hmm. So you're living that dual identity. So you're kind of the Clark Kent at school, and then you put on your AJ Awesome cape, and then you jump into that. I get it too. As I'm an educator myself, it's interesting. I just switched to being a virtual teacher myself. I taught for 10 years in elementary school, and now I'm a virtual teacher. I've always craved just one student that's into wrestling, and most of the time they're into Yu-Gi-Oh or they're Pokemon. They're reading anime and manga, which I enjoy as well. But occasionally I'll throw out in this math problem, if John Moxley bleeds 3 quarts of blood, and just to see if anybody responds, and nothing, I'm like, nobody likes AEW, nobody likes wrestling. But that's gotta be. I hope you do find some friends though that at school, maybe that one person wearing a Roman Reigns shirt or something, you can say, hey, come here.
Yeah, I remember there was a kid in 2nd grade that was a humongous wrestling fan, had WWE Supercard on his phone, wore wrestling shirts to school, had a Seth Rollins backpack.
Yeah,
really bonded over wrestling.
Oh, that's cool. And then when did you let him know, by the way, I have a podcast. I'm AJ Awesome. Did you know?
Yeah, my friends kind of forced me into saying stuff like that.
But that's probably contrary to your actual character, because you seem like humble people though. You seem like a genuine but also humble person, that bragging about yourself doesn't seem like something that AJ Awesome would do.
Yeah, sometimes I brag unknowingly.
Humble brag, I guess.
but most of the time I really don't brag.
Yeah.
I remember once someone asked me to brag about myself, and I had a whole bunch of trouble not bragging. I mean, bragging about myself, because it's just kind of taught me to not brag. Everyone that I know has taught me to not brag.
Oh, that's good stuff right there. That's genuine quality right there. Hey, RJ City, take some notes here, buddy. Take some notes. And but it also translates too, because every episode, every interview that I've seen you do on your YouTube channel, and you have quite the library of interviews. Especially, it's cool to see like interviews of like before they were stars interviews. Like you'll have like a wrestler that before they hit it big, but you constantly you're asking great questions, but you're putting them over. It's not about you. The only time you kind of add your own self story, it seems, is when you're relating to them, or like something like like they're talking about a video game, like with Cody talking about, I know what the Nintendo 64 is, or I know what this is, and that I think that's a huge quality, and that's again what we need more of with the wrestling media.
Yeah, I really try to help the other people. Because if it's just all about me, then what's really the reason for them to accept the interview?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to sit here and hear about somebody else yapping about themselves. Absolutely. I also, something else that continues to, I think, warm my heart, and I think I speak for a lot of people, is how good of a brother you are to. You have a brother that you just really help and take care of, and I think it was an AEW event that you took him to.
Yes.
And he just was smiling from ear to ear, and it seemed like you really made his day special.
Also, some of that played with Justin Roberts. He would, during commercials, he would go, "Hey Joey, how's it going up there?"
I think Justin Roberts is an unsung hero. I didn't realize how much a part of the show Justin is until I went to the first live event.
Yeah, he does play a big role in making AEW as great as it is.
He's like the ringmaster. Like when I just wrote him off as the announcer, but he is almost like the host.
Yeah, he does all. He's the bell ringer. He times the matches. He hypes up the crowd. He does a lot for the show.
Yeah, I think he's tremendous. What are some struggles, or it sounds like you're really doing a great job avoiding a lot of the negativity, but perhaps maybe with your brother or with yourself, what are some struggles that you've had to kind of deal with and overcome, as far as like negativity or others, or even maybe your own self-doubt? What are some things that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, there's a lot of self-doubt whenever it comes to interviewing. I ask a question, I'm like, oh no, I could have done a lot better, or oh, I could have asked this instead, it would have been so much better. And I just all the other people being so nice about the questions helps me overcome with the problems I have. But I really try and be like, no, you already said it, and it was a great question. I try and say that to myself, and it really helps me overcome that self-doubt.
Yeah, there is a lot of power in positive thinking. And I think sometimes, wouldn't you agree that sometimes we're our own worst enemy?
Yes, for sure.
I think sometimes, like, you'll say something and only you feel like know how it could have gone better. But the person you're talking to, they only hear the question.
Yeah, there have been a lot of times where something I do a lot is someone asks me to enjoy the show, whether it be a ticket, the person who scans the tickets at the show, and I say you too, and then I just beat myself up about it all night.
Oh yeah, that's like when if I'm like going to a meal or something, enjoy your meal, and I'll say, yeah, you too. I'm like, they're not eating a meal, they're giving, yeah. I think everybody has that, and I think that's, if you can laugh at yourself, I think that's tremendous. Do you ever feel imposter syndrome? That's something I've talked to a lot of folks, where that voice of, who do you think you are? You're not this special person. What do you think? They're not going to listen to you.
I feel like I do not have that much, but there have been a couple times that have happened.
And have those few times that it happened, how did you overcome that? What were some things yourself or maybe friends or family?
It was mainly my family. My family's a huge support system for me.
Yes, and they do seem to really take care of you, and it's great that they're that they've got that they've got that bottom. They keep the haters and the trolls at bay.
Yeah, my mom really tries a lot to keep haters from getting into my head because the haters can really make me lose motivation and everything, which I feel like is what they're really trying to do.
And what do you think motivates like folks that want it? It's almost like they're that kid that doesn't get enough attention, so they act up to get that negative attention.
I feel like it's a lot of attention seeking, and as my mom said a while back, I feel like it also has a play in jealousy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's a lot, and you may even see that with adults that look at how successful you've been already. And again, I think you're just at the precipice of your success. I think there's going to be in 10, 15 years, we're going to be listening to AJ Observer Radio or something like that. Which leads me to my next question. What's next for you, and what are you looking at next? Are you continuing with the interviews? Do you want to get into broadcasting? Do you want to get into more of this, or is this going to continue to be kind of your alter ego? Is Clark Kent still going to go one way while AJ Awesome fights crime on the internet?
My real idea right now is to keep this going. So I feel like I'm really doing this to get myself into the wrestling world so I can possibly become a wrestler. So trying to keep this alive also is a way of, if I manage to have something that makes me not be a wrestler, I can still do backstage interviews or be the ring announcer.
But yeah, with that experience, whatever happens, you got to at least be ready to take a bump, because you never know when, oh, wait a minute, somebody grabs you for a bit. Do you already have your eye on some wrestling schools?
No, I feel like I'm a bit too young, but once Dustin Rhodes told me that I could go train at the Rhodes Academy whenever I want, and I turned down the offer so I could go train at the World League Wrestling School.
All right. What made you choose that over Dustin?
I feel I've been going there for 10 years now, and I have really built up a connection with everyone there. And I feel like it's just the amount they've treated me well. I feel like I should go to their school.
Loyalty. See, there's another thing. Loyalty is important too. I think loyalty is very important in any business, but especially like with media relations. Especially when some of the worst thing I see is when somebody that you used to talk to suddenly goes Hollywood or stops talking to you or something like that. And I think that's tremendously important. And don't forget, Rio started at 9, so I guess anybody could start wrestling.
Yeah, didn't she wrestle Kenny Omega?
Yeah, and there's a video of her slapping Suzuki when she was like 9 years old, and his reaction is just priceless. They call him the murder grandpa for a reason, and he just looks at her like, "No, you just didn't do that." I thought that was tremendous.
Yeah, I need to see that clip.
I'll see if I can pull it up. What has been some of your top interview moments, like some of your favorite interviews of all the ones that you've done?
I feel like it is really hard to choose from a favorite interview because all of them are so good for me. I have a special relationship with every single interview I've done. Really, because I work hard for every interview. Mm-hmm. So I really can't choose one.
Do you what kind of preparation do you do for your interviews? Do you go back and look at their history, or are you already a fan?
If I'm not a fan of said wrestler, I usually go to Wikipedia and read up on them. If they don't have a Wikipedia, there's usually websites on them that have pretty good details on their history. And I also I have a line of cards, but a lot of the times I like to write questions for each wrestler depending on what I've seen from their history.
Do you sometimes come up with questions on the fly too? Like in the middle of an interview?
Yeah, I do that actually quite a lot. But for some interviews, they just go long enough that I really need to keep myself from asking those questions because I really don't feel like doing a 1 hour long interview, even though it would be really cool. I just don't feel like keeping someone away from going home for
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah. Do you catch most of your interviews after they've already done the match? Like they're waiting for the pay window?
Usually I either do the interviews before the show, which we usually have to come a lot early, or we do the interviews just after the show. Because usually most of the interviews I do, there's a lot of noise in the wrestling shows I go to. And there isn't really a quiet spot.
No, if there is a quiet spot, it's probably being used for a promo or something.
There are a few times where we do interviews in the middle of shows. Like, I believe the interview I did with Mike and Maria Kanellis, we did it in the middle of a show up in a room, backstage, up stairs.
That's pretty cool. How did the pandemic change things for you? And how did that not just with your show, but also like with school and everything?
I'm gonna start with school first. For school, it really it was a huge scare for school, and it was a deserved scare, truly.
Yeah.
And so everyone, it was very rushed. It felt like everyone had to go home, and I believe they gave us each an iPad so we can. And there was an app that we used called Canvas.
Very familiar with Canvas, yes.
And we would do Zoom classes every day, I believe. And for interviews, it really helped me actually because I was able to interview Kevin Owens during the pandemic and
from his car, I think he was in his car or something.
And also Dolph Ziggler, and those were some really big interviews for me.
Those are tremendous, and even those, you gotta go watch those interviews if you haven't already. And just again, everybody seems to kind of light up when they're talking to you. I think that's a tremendous gift that you have, and I hope you continue to sharpen that. I mean, continue to develop that skill. I truly do mean it when I say I think you're already establishing yourself with a reputation in the wrestling community, and we're going to look back in 10, 20 years and be like, yep, that's where it started. That's where he was. And could also be you might even have some gold. You know, you might have a couple straps with you when you that'll be interesting. Is to see who have out of everybody that you've interviewed, do you think you would love to eventually have a match with?
Ooh, I would say Jon Moxley, but I haven't interviewed him yet. That would be like, if it was just broad scale, that would be my go-to answer. But out of people I've interviewed, I really love Dolph Ziggler's wrestling, and I feel like it would truly be an honor to wrestle him.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. All right, you hear that, Dolph? The feud is starting right now. All right, quick promo time, AJ. What do you got to say to Dolph right now? Say, are you coming for him?
I am going to defeat you whether you like it or not. Whether it be in 5 years from now or even today, I have the power to defeat you.
There we have it, folks. Right there, AJ Awesome delivering the challenge. Dolph, you better count your blessings right now. Your brother can't even save you while he's running around being the Hollywood hunk. You got to be careful because AJ is coming for you. That's awesome. Excellent. If you do wrestle Moxley, you're going to have to really be careful he doesn't bleed on you. I think that's... Do you think that there is a little too much blood in wrestling?
I have always been a fan of the hardcore matches, but my mom absolutely hates them. So I feel like there shouldn't be like blood spilling down the face everywhere on the mat type of blood. I feel like it should be very limited. I feel like if there is any blood at all, it shouldn't be much.
Yeah, there are times where I feel like it's all right, it's good, we enjoy it, but I think with the Evil Uno match where it seemed like it was almost Monty Python. Like the blood was like squirting out of his mask, and we all just kind of did this jump when we were watching.
Yeah, that was honestly really scary. I was afraid for his life there because of the blood loss.
Do you feel like, and because I've heard some criticisms, as being a teacher, I've tried to share some wrestling with my students, and I've had some criticisms that pro wrestling promotes violence when you let children watch that. Do you see that? Do you feel like there's any weight to that statement, or how would you respond to that?
I honestly feel like that statement does have a little bit of truth in it, but I don't feel like it's the driving factor. I feel like kids know not to punch their friends in the stomach.
Yeah.
I feel like it is mainly how the kids are introduced to it. I feel like if you introduce the kids by saying, "Hey, you should do this to your friend," then it's really not very helpful to that cause.
Yeah, you don't see, I mean, you don't see very many kids picking up a chair in the middle of the lunchroom, and, you don't see, we want tables. I mean, sometimes you do, but I don't think it's wrestling. I don't think wrestling is the motivator for some of those issues. Do you feel like, this is something, too, I've always wondered, and thinking back to my interactions with my students, and also when I was your age, my interactions with teachers, there were some teachers that I really responded to, and there were some teachers I knew were just being fake, that kind of like, "Hey kiddos, we're gonna do this today." Do you feel like some adults don't take kids or should take kids more seriously, or do you feel like kids are more perceptive than adults tend to give them credit for?
I feel like that is true. There are a lot of cases of kids not being listened to whenever there's a huge problem because the adults think they're lying.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, has there been a teacher that you've had, or an adult, I mean, obviously your parents, but has there been a teacher that you've responded well to, like, because they're real to you, and they're not doing that fake mask or what have you?
Yes, there have been a few. There have been a lot of teachers that were very open about that they were being real. But I've also had some teachers that seemed very fake in what they were talking.
Yeah. And that's, I think that we tend to write off kids and not value what they have to say. Well, nothing bothers me more than watching a movie with a child actor, and the child actor's lines are like, "The bad men are coming." Kids don't talk like that. They don't say, they'll say, "These freaks are coming after us now. We got to run." That's real dialogue.
Yeah, I feel like in movies there should be a lot more studying on how kids actually talk instead of children saying, "The bad guys are here."
Exactly. Well, AJ, to borrow RJ City's line, this has been a delight to talk with you. Do you have any closing advice that's more than a fortune cookie for people out there aspiring to live their dreams, to manifest their destiny, or do you have any advice for young people that are trying to figure out who they are and what they want to be?
My main piece of advice is if you really set on to anything you do, you can almost always become what you want to be. There are some very few cases that don't do that. Say you want to, I'm trying to find a good thing to say here. If you want to be the first man on the moon, because there has already been that, it's really not possible no matter how much work you have, but you can be an astronaut and go on the moon.
Yeah, or the first person to Mars, Hey,
yeah.
You never know.
That's even better than the moon.
Yeah, right? Yeah. We might be living there someday. Well, AJ, thank you so much for hanging. I'd love to have you back on I'm tempted to start a wrestling podcast to talk with you, and it's it's not like there's not a whole lot of wrestling podcasts out there. I mean, there's very few wrestling podcasts. Nobody wants to really share their opinion about wrestling. Not at all. No sarcasm there. But but thank you so much again. You're subscribe if you haven't already to the AJ Awesome Show. I'm excited for your next interview. I'm hopeful. Is the toy wrestling show coming back?
I'm honestly not sure. That's kind of up to the fans to decide, because I'm honestly not 100% sure if I could do more of the toy wrestling, because I may have improved in filming and commentary, but really I have ran out of ideas on what to do for the toy wrestling.
Well, there you go. Maybe. Well, you know what? Maybe the toy wrestling is going to go away because the real AJ Awesome story is coming soon. So we're looking forward to seeing not only as you grow as a media representative, but we're looking forward to that in-ring debut.
Yeah, don't expect it to be anytime soon. I do not think I am going to be showing up on AEW in the next couple of years.
But you never know. All right, well, AJ, thank you so much. Shout out to the AJ Awesome family and crew. This has been a pleasure. As one of your biggest fans, I'm super stoked about your future. I'm already celebrating your current success. Good luck with everything, and I hope to have you back on real soon.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Catch new episodes of Mental Health Mondays every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Start your week off with a smile and some inspiration.